With the launch of Episode Revenant, a lot of our exotics actually received some buffs, and one I was very excited for was Mask of the Quiet One. This exotic has always been one of the worst Titan exotics in the game. When Destiny 2 first launched, there was some use with it, but even with that, there was still better options. However, this did just receive a massive buff, and I honestly think it's one of the best Void Titan exotics in the game. If you've been missing peak Void Titan or never got the chance to play it, this is definitely a build you're going to want to try out. It's going to give you a permanent overshield, permanent devour, and the ability to spam all your abilities whenever you want to. And even with Twilight Arsenal being in the game now, you're not locked down to taking Bubble or Sentinel Shield, and you can actually take a pretty offensive super. This build's a ton of fun and one I'm very excited to bring to you all, so be sure to stick around so you can learn everything you need to know. And real quick, if you do enjoy, consider subscribing and dropping a like. All the support really does go a long way, and I truly appreciate it. All the support you've been showing for this season so far has just been absolutely mind-blowing to me, and I seriously cannot thank you all enough. But without further ado, let's take a look at the brand new Void Titan. All right, first things first, let's take a look at Mask of the Quiet One and talk about the new things it does. First off, this does have the best flavor text of any exotic in the game, but it also has the exotic perk Dreaded Visage. Grant ability energy when you are damaged. While you have a Void super equipped, rapid final blows and final blows while critically wounded grant Devour. So the buffed part of this exotic is now when you have a Void super equipped, it will grant you Devour. This normally just used to heal you when you were at critical health, but now it plays into the fact of giving you that Void 3.0 verb. The cool part about this is that the rapid kills you need is around 4 to 5, you will get Devour, but if you are critically wounded, so if you're ever at red health, it will automatically grant you Devour, so it makes you very tanky and extremely hard to kill. Again, the only caveat of this is that you do have to have a Void super equipped, but with Twilight Arsenal being in the game now, it is very easy to do that. Twilight Arsenal is a great super. It does decent single target damage, it applies weaken, it's also just fun to use in general, so it makes it a great pairing with this exotic. Now on top of that, you still get the ability energy back when you take damage, and since you are going to be so tanky with this build, you're always going to get this ability energy refunded all the time, and you never have to worry about death. Obviously in PvE, you're constantly getting shot, especially if you're playing solo, so this just means you're getting passive ability regen for all of your abilities, and you're going to heavily play into the fact that you're getting your grenade back, because with Devour, you heal to full and gain grenade energy on each kill. So TLDR, you're going to be unkillable because you have permanent Devour, and you're going to have crazy fast ability regen, especially your grenade. But now let's start talking about the subclass and how everything will synergize. First off, I do want to mention you can take Prismatic with this, because obviously you could just throw on Twilight Arsenal, but when it comes to the aspects and even some of the fragments, nothing really plays heavily into your grenade, and you want to play into your grenade because you're going to have Devour. But if you, I guess, want to take Prismatic because you do have the opportunity to use Transcendence, you totally can, but I truly do believe Void Titan is going to be the best subclass to run with this. And the reason for that is because we do have two aspects that play heavily into our grenade. Now for your grenade, you can run literally whatever you want to. The grenade is totally up to you. I personally think Vortex is the best because it can suck people in, it does a decent amount of damage, and it will apply some of our other debuffs in the subclass, one of those being Controlled Demolition. So hitting a target with a Void ability or Volatile Explosion makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode, granting you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. So if you already weren't unkillable enough with Devour, now every time a volatile target explodes, you will heal a little bit alongside your teammates also getting to heal. But the fun and main benefit of this is the fact that whenever you apply volatile to an enemy, it will explode and the volatile will apply more volatile. It makes it a fun chain reaction, and your abilities can also apply volatile. Since you can spam your abilities all the time, especially your grenade, you're always going to be applying volatile 24/7, and it just makes the ad clear of this build absolutely disgusting. You honestly don't even need to take volatile rounds due to this aspect alone, but if you do, it's the cherry on top, and we'll talk more about those when we get into our fragments. Now our next aspect is actually going to be offensive bulwark. So while you have an overshield or are inside Ward of Dawn, your grenade recharges significantly faster. You have increased melee range and damage, and melee final blows restore a small portion of your overshield and extend its duration. You gain additional shield throw while in Sentinel Shield. Obviously the Sentinel Shield part of this doesn't matter at all. The main part is that you're going to get that increased grenade recharge rate when you have an overshield. The way we're actually going to get an overshield is that we're going to be taking a weapon with Repulsor Brace. Now you can take any weapon that has this perk. It doesn't even need to stabilize rounds. If you have Repulsor to stabilizing, it is a great combo just so you can get the overshield just on neutral. You don't have to actually use any of your abilities. but just have a weapon with repulsor brace and you're going to have a permanent overshield. I do like the onslaught weapons because it does come with a dominant ability, so you get grenade regeneration on kills if you have a light subclass equipped. So obviously we're just going to get extra grenade recharge right now. We're going to get an overshield, and we can even spread more volatile with controlled demolition because we have to stabilize your rounds. Elsie's rifle is honestly very strong with this build because pulse rifles are pretty good now, but even if you want to take the recluse, you could totally do that as well. Or again, just any weapon with repulsor brace and repulsor brace stabilizing for sure being the best way to go. Now let's you know how we're getting the overshield. To talk more about the benefits, again, you are going to get the increased grenade regen, which is super nice, but you also will be getting more melee range and damage. And then if you ever get a melee kill, that overshield will also be extended. This is great because if you have an overshield active, your void melee technically counts as a void ability. And what that means is now you can punch with your normal melee and it will actually apply volatile every single time you punch an enemy. Now again, you do have to have an overshield active for this to happen, but it's very easy to have an overshield with this build. So now your melee becomes this very strong ad clear tool you have, and you're also going to get the benefits of extending that overshield as well. You can punch one enemy, apply the volatile, control demolition, and will continue to apply the volatile, and one punch can straight up kill a whole group of ads. Now since we're on the topic of melees, I do like to take shield throw. If you want to take shield bash, you can, because this does suppress enemies and can deal with overload champions because of that reason. But with shield throw, you can actually just throw the shield and you're going to grant yourself an overshield. So it's another way to get an overshield. Shield bash does allow you to get an overshield if you hit an enemy with it, but you obviously have to be super close. With this, you basically have another grenade, so you could just throw this and your grenade, but the shield throw will also just grant you an overshield. So it's totally up to you, whichever one you prefer. Both are very, very good and work well with the build. For the class item, I just run Rally Barricade because it does have a lower cooldown. This will play into some of our armor mods pretty well. Plus Rally Barricade is also nice just to get that reload speed. For super, obviously we're taking Twilight Arsenal. If you want to take Ward of Dawn, you totally could, but I think Twilight Arsenal is probably just going to be overall the better super here. Again, the single target damage, the weaken it applies, it's very, very good. But now for fragments, this is where things get pretty fun. First off, Echo of Cessation. So finish your final blows, create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile. Defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. So this is nice because this is just another way that we can further apply volatile to make controlled demolition at clear a lot more. It is very, very good if you get a finisher. Plus, you're making void breaches, which in return, when you pick them up, will actually grant you class ability energy back. Now, we will have a bunch of artifact perks that play heavily mainly into this fragment. We'll talk about that once we get into the artifact perks, but just know this is a great thing to have. You're getting class ability energy back. If you get a finisher, you can add clear a lot with it as well, and you can basically just blow more things up now, which is super nice. But our next fragment is actually going to be Echo of Undermining, so your void grenades weaken targets. This is the most simple one. Now your vortex grenade can weaken enemies. It can also apply volatile to enemies, and it makes your grenade just very strong for ad clear. On top of that, you can also throw your grenade on a boss. Vortex is very good for this because it just does last a long time, so you're just always going to have the max amount of weaken possible. Next fragment is going to be Echo of Persistence, so void buffs applied to you, invisibility, overshield, and devour have increased duration. Now this fragment right here straight up just makes this build a lot easier to use. If you want to take something else, I guess, to play more into the power aspect of it, you totally can. But with this, your devour that you get from Master the Quiet One just lasts longer now. You get more time when you initially get it, and same thing goes to your overshield with repulsor brace or even your melee. You get additional time the moment you receive it, and it also just has a longer duration once you keep getting the kills to keep them up. So it's very nice to have. If you can play without it, totally swap this out for something else. But if you don't want to have to worry about devour or worry about your overshield, you just know you're always going to have them permanently, definitely take this fragment. And then for the final fragment is going to be Echo of Instability. So defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. And this is what I was talking about earlier. So now every single time you get a grenade kill, you're going to get volatile rounds for your weapon. You're going to be applying volatile when you throw your grenade. On top of that, if you do have a weapon with stabilizer rounds, you're going to spread volatile around everywhere as well. And since the weapon you are running is void, that just means now just when you shoot an enemy, you're also applying volatile. So the amount of volatile you can spread with everything in this build that's going on is just absolutely nuts. And you also are getting the crazy ability regen, and the fact that your abilities are also going to be very strong because you're applying weaken. Again, your abilities also apply volatile, and between all this, you're also making void breaches, which are going to play heavily into our artifact as well. Oh, and the cherry on top is the fact that with episode Revenant, overshields also get buffed to grant 70% damage reduction now when you have them. So since you have one of those permanently, you just always have the damage reduction, and since you also have permanent devour, you're always healing if they can even get through your overshield. So you're pretty much unkillable. But then let's take a further look at these artifact perks and talk about how things are really going to play into each other. There honestly aren't a lot with this build, but obviously we're going to take the void ones. We're going to have things like power for pain, so when we get rapid final blows against weaker targets, we can grant devour. You really don't need this since massive quiet ones already grant you devour. I guess it is just a nice little, you know, safe option to have if, you know, you can get this to proc, but in reality it doesn't matter too much, but there's really nothing else to take, so you might as well throw it on. For the ones that do matter though, you have things like supernova, so whenever you pick up a void breach, the next source of void damage you do makes a weakening pulse. So this is great because again, we're going to be making void breaches with Echo of Cessation. So now whenever we deal void damage with our weapon, our grenade, our melee, whatever, it will now just basically make a weakening little AoE. The weakening is great because obviously you do more damage to them. The weakening can also proc things like a pulsar brace. So again, between the weaken and the volatile, you're always going to have an overshield. Now we can also play into things like serve cold. So if we pick up a void breach, it will also grant us melee energy. So again, we're making void breaches with cessation. Not only are we getting class ability now, we're also getting melee ability, and obviously with the grenade, devour's taking care of that. Anything with the Master of the Quiet One taking damage, we're always getting all of our abilities back, so it makes it so you can spam all 3 of your abilities. Just always make sure you're picking the void breaches up. Now the other main artifact perk is going to be debilitating wave. So whenever we do a finisher, we emit a wave that's basically like a wave frame grenade launcher. But the cool part about this is that when you get a finisher with Echo of Cessation, you make everyone volatile, but then that wave goes out and it hits enemies, procs the volatile, and again it makes it so your finisher can actually kill a bunch of enemies alongside spreading the other volatile. So it makes it very, very strong. Echo Cessation with all these artifact perks is what makes it so good. You get the finisher aspect, and you also get the void breach aspect to play into weaken, to play into getting your abilities back, and now also the act clear part again for the finisher. And then finally it's just total carnage. So whenever you get a finisher, you get some damage resistance. This is great. Again, makes you even more tanky with the build that you're already unkillable on. Now stats to run with this build for sure is going to be 100 resilience. You get the 30% damage reduction, and also since we're on Titan, you also get the increased class ability cooldown rate, which is great for your barricade. 100 discipline because we want to throw our grenades as much as possible, and then I would just opt in to take as much strength as you can, just so you can always have your overshield on neutral if you ever need it. But now jumping into the armor mods, this is what I'm running if you'd like to copy it down. But to take a further look into it, we're going to be running a harmonic siphon so we can make orbs of power whenever we get void rapid weapon final blows. Obviously getting rapid weapon final blows will grant us devour with a Master of the Quiet One. Now we're also making orbs, which is going to be great to give us armor charge and super energy. But speaking of super energy, we're also going to be taking ashes to assets. Whenever we get grenade kills, we get bonus super energy, and then dynamo whenever we use our class ability near targets, we also get bonus super energy. Again, you can spam these abilities all the time. You're going to be getting a lot of grenade kills. You're going to be able to use the class ability a lot, so you just get a bunch of super energy. And again, we can't take Twilight Arsenal now, so it's actually beneficial to get the super energy because you could use that super pretty much whenever you want to. Now for the arms, I do like to take a harmonic loader just so I can increase my reload speed with void weapons. This is great for my L6 rifle or whatever weapon that you decide to run. And I also like to take a bolstering detonation and a momentum transfer, so whenever I deal damage with my grenade, I'm getting class ability cooldown and melee cooldown. Since your grenade will recharge faster than the other two, this is great to have just to help further get those abilities up as well. Now for the chest piece, always go through resistant mods. Just swap these off whatever content you're going into. And then for our boots, I honestly just like to take a triple void weapon surge just to make it really easy to kill enemies with my void weapon. You don't really need things like recuperation because you have devour. You don't really need the ability regen because you have Master of the Quiet One. So this is just great to have just to do a lot more damage. You can obviously also opt in to take a void power weapon. I do like to run Leviathan's Breath with this setup, but it's totally up to you. Edge Transit, anything like that will also be totally good, but it just makes it super easy to add clear. And again, you're making orbs to get that armor charge with the weapon, so you just get more damage. Now finally for the class item, I do like to take a bomber so I get grenade cooldown whenever you use the class ability. We can use the class ability a lot, so this is just great to have some extra grenade cooldown. Again, also the grenade will also grant you class ability cooldown, so they kind of synergize pretty well. Powerful attraction, so whenever you use the class ability, we'll pick up all the orbs around us. This is again great because we can use the class ability a lot. And then just time dilation, so we just get extra time for our weapon surge. And again, with powerful attraction, it makes it really easy to pick orbs up, so you're pretty much going to permanently have this up at all times. And using that class ability also grants you super energy. And then this is the transmog for the build. Obviously I went for a very void theme look. I tried to go for like a rugged, I guess, military-esque look. I don't exactly know what I was going for here, but I think it turned out looking pretty cool. I tried to take advantage of the ornament, but I honestly believe that the just base Master of the Quiet One looks a lot cooler with all like the chainmail. I guess I could have went for like a very I guess, Iron Banner themed going on with the chainmail, but this is what I end up going with. And if you want to make your Titan look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. But that's going to do it all for this build. Let me know what you all think about in the comments below. I know Void Titan has always been just kind of decent. It kind of fell off a good amount with all the melee builds that Titan has now, but with this now, it makes it very nice to further play into the grenade build. But you also, again, will get the benefits of having permanent devour, overshield, all your other abilities. It is just so good. Everything synergizes together so well in this build, and it's definitely one I would recommend you all give a shot. Anyway, though, I wish you all the best of luck on putting this build together for yourself. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.